In this way, the birth of England was not the result of a single declaration or boundary drawn on a map. It was the gradual shaping of a kingdom through conflict, cooperation, and memory, until the people who lived within its borders began to see themselves not only as subjects of different rulers, but as part of a larger and enduring whole. The emergence of England as a nation was not a single moment in time, nor the result of a single ruler or battle. Rather, it was a slow and uneven process that unfolded across centuries, shaped by migration, conflict, and the gradual formation of shared institutions. In the early medieval period, the land that would eventually be called England was not a unified kingdom at all, but a patchwork of smaller realms scattered across the island of Britain. After the decline of Roman authority in Britain during the 5th century, the political landscape of the island changed dramatically. Roman administration had once linked towns, roads, and provinces under imperial control, but when that structure faded, new powers emerged in its place. Groups of Germanic migrants, commonly known as the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, settled in various parts of the island. Over time, they established their own kingdoms, each ruled by its own dynasty and customs. These early realms included Northumbria in the north, Mercia in the central regions, East Anglia along the eastern coast, and Wessex in the south. For generations, these kingdoms existed in competition rather than unity. Alliances shifted, borders changed, and rulers sought influence over their neighbors through warfare or diplomacy. Historians later referred to this collection of kingdoms as the Heptarchy, though in reality the number and power of these states fluctuated constantly. Yet despite their rivalry, they shared certain cultural elements. The inhabitants spoke related languages, practiced similar legal traditions, and gradually adopted Christianity after its reintroduction to the island in the late 6th and early 7th centuries. These common foundations would later make political unity possible. The pressure that most clearly accelerated the move toward unity came from beyond the island's shores. Beginning in the late 8th century, Viking raiders from Scandinavia launched repeated attacks on coastal monasteries and settlements. Over time, these raids evolved into full-scale invasions, with Viking armies conquering large portions of northern and eastern England. Many of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms fell under their control, creating a region known as the Danelaw, where Scandinavian customs and leadership prevailed. Amid this turmoil, the Kingdom of Wessex emerged as a center of resistance. Its most famous ruler, King Alfred, later remembered as Alfred the Great, organized defensive campaigns against Viking forces and strengthened his realm through administrative reform. Alfred built fortified towns, improved systems of local defense, and promoted education and record-keeping. Though he did not rule all of England, his efforts laid important foundations for a more coordinated political structure. It was under Alfred's successors, particularly during the 10th century, that the idea of a single English kingdom began to take clearer shape. Kings such as Edward the Elder and Athelstan expanded control over territories that had once belonged to rival Anglo-Saxon states. Through a combination of military campaigns, alliances, and governance reforms, they brought much of the island's southern and central regions under one authority. In 927, Athelstan secured recognition as ruler over the various Anglo-Saxon territories, a moment many historians regard as the earliest political unification of England. Yet nationhood was not created by conquest alone. Administrative practices helped bind the kingdom together. Systems of law were standardized, coinage circulated more widely, and written records began to reflect the idea of a collective people known as the English. Royal assemblies brought together nobles and church leaders from across the realm, reinforcing the sense that governance extended beyond a single region. Over time, these institutions created continuity that outlasted individual rulers. Religion also played a role in shaping this emerging identity. The Christian Church provided networks of communication across distant regions and helped record the history of the kingdom through chronicles written in monasteries. These writings described the land not simply as a collection of territories, but as a shared realm inhabited by a people with a common story. Even so, the development of England as a nation remained fragile. Later centuries would bring renewed invasions, shifting dynasties, and new cultural influences, most notably after the Norman conquest of 1066. Yet the foundations laid during the Anglo-Saxon period, the merging of kingdoms, the growth of shared law, and the emergence of a common political identity, formed the earliest framework of what would eventually be recognized as England. In this way, the birth of England was not the result of a single declaration or boundary drawn on a map. It was the gradual shaping of a kingdom through conflict, cooperation, and memory, until the people who lived within its borders began to see themselves not only as subjects of different rulers, but as part of a larger and enduring whole.